often speaks of water of life, living water, and says he himself is the source of water, the source of spiritual water. And yet I wonder sometimes, do we, with the ease of turning a tap on so quickly, forget that in parts of the world this is not the reality? But also, there's some quite startling facts around water which I'd like to share with you today. So the World Health Organization estimates that 1.1 billion, that's around 1 in 6 people, don't have access to good quality drinking water. And 3 billion, that's 1 in 2, people live in water scarce conditions. That's 1 in every 2 people live in a place where water is scarce. That's quite startling, isn't it? Another interesting fact that I found particularly challenging is that while water supply across the world has remained constant, despite climate change, demand for water has increased 6-fold in this century. Globally, 45 million cubic meters a day are lost through leaks. So a cubic meter, to give you a rough idea, is the size of 11 medium-sized boxes, 1.5 feet in cubic inches. So 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. And the cubic meter is 11 of those. Goodness, that's an awful lot of water wasted through leaks. And lots of our leaks we don't even know are happening. And how many of us, I wonder, have slightly leaking or dripping taps that we ignore. The World Bank estimates the cost to utilities of water loss before reaching us when we turn on our taps is about 14 billion a year globally. And public infrastructure spending in America alone is 41 trillion across the globe. And 23 trillion pounds will be spent on water and sewerage issues. 23 trillion pounds. I can't even begin to imagine that amount of money. But that's an extraordinary amount of our most precious resource lost. The UK receives a large amount of rainfall, but there are limited natural or man-made methods for water storage here in this country. And that means that there is actually relatively small volume of water available per person in our country. And the demand for water here is growing at a steady rate of 1% per year. And the southeast of England has less water available per person. That's the southeast of England has less water available per person than, wait for it, the desert states of Syria and Sudan combined. A citizen of the UK, you and me, we use, dear people, 150 litres of water per day. I'm trying to get my head round how I could possibly use 150 litres of water a day. So I'm going to try and measure exactly how much water literage I am using a day. That seems almost too much. Our industry and commerce here in the UK consumes about 1,300 million cubic metres of water a year. And the average household bill for water and sewerage is about £460. And that's, in terms of an increase, it's 50% more than it would have been 20 years ago. And just a silly piece of information, the water industry has about 700,000 kilometres of mains and sewers, 640,000 of these in England and Wales alone, and that's enough to stretch to the moon and back. So the next time you see something digging up a pothole and repairing a leak, just remember that they're somewhere between here and the moon, and they're repairing that in order to save water. Small leaks. Did you know that 1 in every 20 of our swimming pools has a leak? And 1 in every 300 of our homes or buildings has a leak? When was the last time you checked for leaks and checked your taps? A dripping tap will waste 680 litres a month. So let me put that into perspective. There are people in our world today who have to walk for water kilometres in heat to bring home 5 or 6 litres of water to do an entire family for a couple of days. Women in some parts of sub-Saharan Africa walk 125 miles a week. 125 miles a week to get the water to supply their families. We are made up of over 80% water. We can last for a long time without food, as we have often seen in hunger strikers, for example. But without water, our organs begin to shut down within 72 hours. Something for us to really think about in terms of the environment and in terms of fair share of the world's resources is how much water we actually waste, and could we do something to save more water, to collect water and to use it for washing our cars, watering our gardens. I'm sure most of us do that in some form anyway, but I think we can do better. I will give you living water, said Jesus. Living water so you're never thirsty again. I think that living water is compassion that moves us to action in the service of others. How can we have compassion, be moved to action in the service of those who cannot simply turn on a tap and have a drink of water, but who have to drink dirty water, contaminated water, because of the need and the greed of the few? We journey on.